offers us an opportunity in a way that we haven't had for a very long time to fundamentally change how we do business. And I want you to all know that I've never seen politics as a game. From the day I decided to become a community organizer over 2 decades ago, I've always seen politics as something different. Politics as a mission. Politics is a way to help people achieve the American dream, a way for this country to hold up its highest ideals. If you don't spend all your time in Washington, you actually have an easier time remembering what politics should be about. My best day on the campaign so far was I went to California because the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, had organized a day to walk in the shoes of one of their members as a presidential candidate. So I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I went over to the house of a 61-year-old home care worker named Pauline Beck. And we spent the morning, we had breakfast first at her house, and she got 2 foster kids ready who don't have a family of their own and that are living with her. And then we went to the house of an 86-year-old amputee, and who she every day takes care of. And together, I scrubbed the floors and made the beds and helped him put on his clothes and made him breakfast. All the things that she does each and every day. And I have to say, she gave me some corrections in terms of how to clean up a little bit. And my wife was shocked when she heard that I had cleaned up somebody else's house. She had asked, why don't you try that at home once in a while? But it was the best day of campaigning I've had, because listening to this humble woman talk about the hardships of her life, the things that she does every single day of her life, without a trace of self-pity, just hoping that maybe she could get a little more pay to take care of those 2 foster kids at home, hoping that maybe she could get a little more security for her retirement, just hoping that maybe she could get a day off once in a while so that she could rest a tired back. You know, I was reminded about why I got into politics. Because of people like her. There's a core decency to the American people. There's a generosity of spirit to the American people. She was just glad to be of service to somebody. And that's what so many of us are interested in, is just having a useful life. And we don't expect government to solve all our problems. We just hope that maybe government can help us out a little bit if we fall on hard times, and make sure that the next generation has the same or better opportunities than we did. In other words, that experience with Ms. Beck, that home care worker, reminded me of what this country should be about, which is that we have a stake in each other. That principle that I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, and that principle has to express itself not just in our own families, not just in our religious institutions. It's got to express itself in our government. Our government has to be part of the solution. It's got to be as decent as the American people are. That's what we're fighting for. I don't know about you, but I do not accept that the American dream is a thing of the past. I believe it's time to start giving our workers policies that actually value their work. Let's provide them with a living wage, not just a minimum wage. Let's stop giving tax breaks to companies that are shipping jobs overseas, and invest those tax breaks in companies that are investing right here in Iowa and in the United States of America. And it's also time that we had a tax policy in this country that gives working Americans a break. This week I announced that it is time for us to fundamentally change our tax code, because our tax code no longer reflects the principles of fairness that I think so many of us believe in. For the last 6 years, we've given billions of dollars of tax breaks to the wealthiest few who didn't need them and didn't even ask for them. Instead of a tax code that is fairer and simpler, we've got a complex tax code that's full of special interest giveaways. So this week I introduced a tax plan that will give working Americans a break. It's a plan that will eliminate the income tax for 175,000 working Iowans who don't make a lot of money. And it will eliminate taxes for 100,000 seniors on fixed incomes who don't have a lot of money. We'll give a tax break to 110,000 Iowa homeowners. This plan provides immediate relief to middle-class families while closing down corporate loopholes, because the American dream shouldn't be the property of the few. It shouldn't just be accessible to those who have a lobbyist in Washington. It should be accessible to every single American. And I believe we can make this happen during this election. It's the same reason I don't accept that in the wealthiest nation on earth, we should have 47 million people without health insurance, and millions more who are going bankrupt because of their medical bills. I know something about this personally. You know, my mother died of cancer when she was 53 years old. And I remember in the waning months of her life, she wasn't spending time thinking about getting well. She wasn't thinking about taking stock of her own life. She was spending time thinking about whether or not the insurance company was going to pay her medical bills, because she had gotten sick just as she was taking a new job with new insurance, and they were talking about maybe this was a pre-existing condition. And I remember watching her heartbroken that she would be worrying about this stuff, while she should have been focused on trying to get well. So I know what it's like to watch a loved one suffer, not just because of an illness, but also because of a broken healthcare system. And it's wrong, and it's something that we have to change. And that's why, as President of the United States, I have put forward a plan that will provide health insurance to every single American, and will save money for those who have health insurance, $2,500 a year for the average working family. And we are going to get this done by the end of my first term as President of the United States. We're not going to wait 15 years or 20 years to get it done. We're going to do it now. We are wealthy enough to get it done if we have a sense of urgency. I don't accept that we should be sending $800 billion every single day to hostile nations that help fuel terrorism all around the globe because of our dependence on foreign oil. You know, I've put forward a proposal that says we're going to increase fuel efficiency standards on cars. Because if we increase them to 40 miles per gallon, which we have the technological capacity to do right now, we would save the equivalent of all the oil we import from the Persian Gulf. Imagine what that would do for our economy, for our environment, and for our foreign policy. Now, I didn't just give this speech, you know, in front of some environmentalist group in California. I gave this speech in Detroit in front of the automakers. And I've got to admit that the room was kind of quiet. But that's okay, because one of the things I think the next president has to do is not just tell people what they want to hear. We've got to tell them what they need to hear. We need to tell the truth. That is something that you should expect from the next president of the United States. I don't accept that we can't give world-class education to every single child in America. I don't accept that we have a country where millions of children are robbed of opportunity because of failing schools. I don't accept passing a law called No Child Left Behind that leaves the money behind for No Child Left Behind, and put pressure on teachers to get teaching the test instead of teaching creatively in the classroom. As president, I want to launch a new campaign to recruit an army of new teachers, because we're going to need 1 million new teachers as the baby boom generation retires. I want to give teachers more pay and give them more professional development and work with them as opposed to against them to raise standards in our schools. And I want to initiate early childhood education all across the country so that we can close the achievement gap and every child is prepared when they get to school, and we can help parents with the parenting that needs to take place outside of the classroom. And while we're at it, I don't know about you, but I think it's time that we make college accessible and affordable to every single American child, regardless of whether or not their parents are rich, because that's what we need to compete over the long term. We can do it. Finally, I don't accept an America that's lost its moral standing in the community of nations. And today, there's no greater mission than restoring our moral standing and keeping America safe at the same time. And that starts with ending this war in Iraq.